Comedy Kitchen with Chef Sel was recorded in front of a fake audience.
Hey guys, Chef Sel right here. I thought I'd catch you napping. All right, so anyway, here we go. Ready? Chef Sel here. As I said, I shoot on a cell phone. I mean, these guys spending all this money on these cameras and lighting, directors, getting 20,000 more hits than me. Spaghetti squash. I'm going to show you how to roast a spaghetti squash and make a delicious meat sauce with it. Because the squash, it's going to serve as spaghetti. The same consistency, same thing, like the same no taste. Squash, as you know, has a nice, delicious, succinct taste, and you're going to notice it. But as you're chewing it, it's going to feel like spaghetti. It's pretty good, you know. So I know you've been gorging spaghetti, you know. I know when you come home with the munchies after the Christmas parties, I know what you've been doing with the spaghetti. Let us begin. Okay, so what I did here was I took a spaghetti squash and I cut it in half. I scooped out the inside with a regular spoon, just a soup spoon. Don't get all the way in there. That's the meat of the vegetable. Once it's pretty much scooped out, I'm giving each side about a teaspoon. I use kosher salt and some pepper. I brushed it with oil. My oil had a little bit of garlic flavoring in it. You can use regular oil. All right, so I have a 400 oven going. And I'm going to get these in there now because it's got to take about an hour. So as I'm doing the meat sauce, we'll let it cook, right? And I want the meat sauce to kind of cook for about an hour too, so hopefully it'll come together. We'll see. All right, I'm going to show you the stuff that goes into the meat sauce. It's very simple. After I put the oil down into the pan, which is at a medium high, I want to sizzle these onions. Don't put the garlic in with the onions. People make that mistake. They make that mistake and then the garlic burns. And then I have some Italian seasoning. If you don't have, about a tablespoon. So let me get my oil down in here. And here's that 1 pound of chopped meat. And 1 can, this is 28 ounces of tomato puree. If you use tomato puree, which is kind of smooth, you know, grinded potatoes. Tomatoes. You don't need tomato paste. There's tomato paste in here already, okay? And I'm going to do my onions first. And this has been going, this oil, so it's going to be, they're going to crackle when you hit it. So let's sweat these down about 3 or 4 minutes. They're going to start to soften. Been about 3 or 4 minutes, like I said. My onions are just starting to brown now, and they're softening up. That's all I have in here right now with the oil, of course. And I moved it down to a medium. After the initial sizzle and I moved them around, I moved it down to like a medium flame. I don't want to get too crazy either, okay? All right? Now I'm going to add this Italian seasoning I told you about, along with the garlic, and keep it on a medium flame because garlic's like a big baby. Garlic's like a big baby, you know? It's like, oh, you're burning me, So treat it like one. That's all. So you want this to move around in the pot for about 2 minutes. You really want to toast. You want to toast this seasoning. See, a lot of people add the seasoning after they put the tomatoes in and they have the sauce and they add the seasoning. And I mean, you could do that too, but you want to toast it. You want to give it a toasty. It brings that, like, that's how the Indian cuisine really is based on toasting these spices. Toast them. Did I say toasting enough? So, like I said, let this go a minute or two. Just take a look at the garlic. It's still kind of sort of whitish. Still sort of whitish. Now, if we weren't on this eating way, I'm not going to call it a diet because the diet's like, when you're forced to eat things you really don't want to eat, and then you have to watch because the person next to you is probably eating something you want, and you're stuck with a little thing over here that's all rabbit food, and it gets you kind of pissed off.
Will you stop waving at me?
They look familiar. Anyway, now it's very toasty in here. The seasonings and the garlic and even the onions are giving off a great aroma here in my kitchen. So now what I'm gonna do, I told you this before, it's a pound of chopped meat. So what I'm doing is I'm stabbing at the block. You can crumble it up before you put it in the pot with your hands also. But I'm stabbing at it and doing a twisting motion here with the flat side of my wooden spatula. And after that gets broken up into little pieces, that's when I'm going to add my salt and pepper, okay? I'm going to add about 2 teaspoons of salt, and we'll season it later too. Don't worry. But you want to get the a base of seasoning in there. Italians, they're all about that. Now you can also do. I think I was starting to say this before. You can also do a little bit like a 1/4 cup of red wine before you put the meat on in with the I call them the vegetables. It's garlic and onions, and let that come down about a minute or two. But we're not going to do it. We're going to go alcohol free. And don't be afraid to mix this meat with the onions and the garlic and the seasonings. Matter of fact, don't be afraid to do anything until the meat's brown. You want it brown, like really good and brown. All right, let me show you what this looks like. You can get it into the light there. There you go. See, the beef got browned. And it didn't give off a lot of fat because it's kind of a lean version of the chopped meat that a lot of people use. Mine's organic.
Everybody loves somebody.
So once it gets to that, if there's too much juice in there, or actually fat, liquid fat or whatever, you just carefully strain it. In goes the puree. Now what I'm doing is I'm going once around the rim with some water, about a 1/4 cup, not a lot. I'm pouring that in to let it go on a very, very long journey. A long, long journey. Probably about an hour and a half. I want you to mix it up from the bottom every 15, 20 minutes. So don't just think you can go on out and go ice skating. So once this thing comes up, I'm going to turn the heat up a little bit just to kind of further along the cooking process so the stuff's going. You have a top ready. See, I got a top here and it's ready. And I'm actually going to put it on and crack it and wait for the blub, blub, blub to happen. Then I'm going to turn it down to a low simmer. Now remember, my spaghetti squash is still in that oven. And that squash, you want to take a fork and you want to just stick it through a couple of times to test it, maybe after 45 minutes, 50 minutes. And if it goes through and comes out, you hardly feel it. Anyway, that's when it's done. When that fork goes in and out, it's called fork tender, okay? So let this go, let that go, and you're pretty much done when they're both done. You're pretty much done when they're both done. I already tested it like I told you with the fork. That's what she looks like. Look how easy the fork goes through. I mean, it's very easy, okay? Very little resistance. All right, so let's go, see? It's coming out easy. I'm just kind of lightly running the fork through and fluffing it up, really. I'm not trying to dig into it or anything like that because then you're gonna get, I want to get the longest strands possible that I can, you see? And like I said, this is a half, that was kind of a small squash. See, that's what a half looks like. Looks like a plate of spaghetti. The liquid part of the sauce has become thick and the meat's starting to peek out the top, which means that it is done. So I'm going to turn this off and I'm doing it a little bit slow. So you can put some cheese on top. I'm going to skip the cheese, but I am going to put a little bit of parsley on here, some chopped parsley. And if you want, you can put a little cheese on. I was tempted to shave my pecorino over it. Some pecorino cheese over it. So with that in mind, a little Instagram.
Step back, I think I'm gonna vomit!
Chef Sal here, and enjoy this one. We'll see you next time.